able to support during those 60 plus days. So today is your birthday. Today, I like to call it your birthday. Today is your day to be celebrated. So I have Christine with me. And Christine, before we start, like, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, happy to do that. So welcome, everybody. I am Christine Campbell Rapin, and I am a global citizen. I actually run a really global business helping support business owners move past their plateau. So if you have already seen some business success and you're going, I don't know if I can maintain it. I don't know what I need to do to turn on my client growth engine after that first burst of success. That's really what I do with my clients. I help them understand the business foundations that lay success for future sales, relationships, impact, and a really fun business growth trajectory.
Wow, that sounds very, very enticing. Like I can imagine now people listening that have had success and now they're sort of, it was great and now I'm kind of plateaued and I want to keep going, but it's not working. So you know who to call right now. So that she's the girl to call. So what you had told me is that explain your belief that business can be elegantly simple. So why do you say that it's simple and elegant at the same time?
I think what happens is once we've had success and we hit a plateau, we start looking and often get super distracted by shiny objects. We're thinking that the next thing we have to do is embrace AI, or we have to go into ClickFunnels, or we have to go, if we're a service provider, into these really complicated engines. And I'm here to tell you, you can absolutely grow your business without all of that. I always tell people that business is really, really simple, and it's not hyperbole. I've helped more than 400 clients create $1 billion in revenue. That's a lot of dollars. And it comes down to understanding the rules of the game, which have not changed in the 30 plus years that I have been in business. And I don't anticipate them to change now, which is two things, and only to predict your revenue. And they're simple. They are how many people you're meeting that could be your potential buyer, or people that could introduce you to your buyer, because your business is built on strangers. And that's one of the biggest things that we lose sight of. After that first flurry of success, we stop building the audience of buyers, and that's where the problem stalls your business. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. The second thing is money in your business comes down to, did you make an offer? And I think a lot of people also think, oh, I'm so busy, I'm sure I've made one. And realizing I haven't. And I said, an offer isn't a social media post or just a simple live that says, come buy my stuff. An offer is much more detailed than that. It is eyeball to eyeball. When you know what the result is they want, you know you're qualified to help guide them, and you lead. This is a leadership requirement. You lead the offer. So I tell people really clearly, if you want to know why your business has stalled or you're running for the next plateau, stop looking for the sparkly objects and start tracking the two things that predict your revenue. Because chances are you're going to have a bit of a light bulb go off that says, I've been really busy, not on the right things. And that's when a course correction is needed. So that really underpins everything I do, because it is that simple. Without those two things, you don't have the engine.
Yeah, I love that. And you can see that in businesses and in all kind of businesses, right? Like what I hear is follow up. Like once you made a contact with someone, once people place a comment on your post and say, hey, I like this idea. Well, you already have someone that is slightly interested. So follow up and book a call and talk with them and do the things that, what is the number, do the thing that needs to be done, but what is the number of follow-up now that people should be doing in order to accept?
Good question. I think it's 12 to 20. And I think what's really important is it's not, hey, I'm following up, but to recognize that it's a lot of nurturing. And that actually means showing up as human. It's really simple. It's being showing up as human. Because what's really important in the conversation is only 3% of people are ready to buy at the moment, which means 97% of the people you're interacting with are not yet buyers, but you have to be able to recognize the patterns. You want to be able to nurture curiosity to keep them moving. And I think when anytime a business is stalled, it comes down to the fact you've stopped moving. And I don't mean hustle. I mean knowing what to focus on to invite movement, be human and have a conversation, because the right people are watching, and you have to lay the foundation that lets them safely evaluate your business so that when they're ready, you're the must-hire choice.
Mm. And I can see that a lot of people, and me included at times, is like you mentioned earlier, I'm super busy. I don't have time to do that, but you're busy with the wrong things, right?
Mhm.
And do you
100%.
help your clients identify the wrong thing they're busy with in order to open space for the right thing to be busy with?
100%. It's a big part of what I do in my mentorship programs, because I really will tell you, and that follows the theme of simplicity, but the 80-20 principle is true. It's true in every part of nature. So I always start with my clients of what's the 20% that's working for you, because you're busy, but not everything is working. So
Mm-hmm.
we audit regularly and have conversations about what's the 20%. And then I say, we need to master that 20 because it's your lane.
Yeah.
And your lane has to build mastery in it. And then it will feel like oxygen. It will be fun. The right people come into your universe. And what we often do in my client work is set the priorities. Ask good questions about, are the actions we're spending, whether it's 1 hour a day in our business or a full-time commitment, are your actions leading you closer to the results you want or further away? And that's when I invite them to say, slow down and find that 20%.
Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know, the 80-20, if I'm not mistaken, the 80% is planning and understanding where you're going, and the 20% is doing the right action to get the
It can
client.
absolutely be that. I would fine tune it a little bit, say 80% of your results come from 20% of what you're doing.
Okay.
So when you know what creates results, that's when you know what to focus on.
Yeah.
But you want to look at what's the thing that created the movement, and what am I doing intentionally to stay in that movement? Because here's the simple piece. Movement is what builds momentum, and it takes time. We said 7 to 20 or 12 to 20 more realistically, touch points need to happen. And if you do less, but more with the right people, guess what happens? You have more sales success.
Yeah.
And you start to really find the right people who will invest in your services. And here's the most important bit of that. They'll invest today because you're the right hire.
Yeah.
They've decided you are capable, you know how to get there, and you can guide them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a strategy. And this is a strategy, I think one of the most important things to say with my clients, because they've hit that plateau, is you probably did this in the early days, but you've forgotten how to do this.
Yeah.
And it's that course correction and that constant conversation. And I work with my clients long-term. And one of the most important questions I ask, like a bit of a hot seat, is how many offers did you make this week?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you networking this week? How many people have you identified as potentially buyers this week? And I'm not saying a buyer today, but within the next 90 days. And if they're staring at me with blank stares, they all go, I'm really busy on the wrong things.
Yeah.
What will you do with that insight?
Yeah. So, but where would you recommend people to be looking for new clients? Because that's what the thing, like you go to a networking event, you do this, you do that, but there's nothing that comes as potential new clients. So where do they get these people?
Well, I would say two things. Your clients are actually in every room. And that's sometimes the big challenge, because you have to be able to identify them. And I think one of the most important places to not be, let's start there, is the room with your peers. Because this is where business owners get stalled and get stuck, because they sound like their peers give them reaffirmations that we're on track. And I said, you're speaking to the converted who are not buyers who will invest in your services. Yeah. Get out of that room, because it will feel good, but it will not create income. And so I say to people, you've got to start brainstorming, where do your clients talk about the challenges they're facing? And that conversation is a place you need to seek. And I think one of the most important networking conversations to ask your room or the people you're meeting in rooms is, where do you hear this conversation? What room do you know of that I should be in, and
Mm.
audit the rooms you're in? Because I will tell you, if you're not in a room with a client who will invest, you're in the wrong room. If you're in the room where your peers are all reaffirming this belief system, but they're not buyers, get out of that room. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, you want to be actively thinking, brainstorming, where does the conversation happen? Because you need to be aware of it, present in it, and non-judgmental in it. Note, I didn't say selling in it,
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
have to build trust first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will tell you, I tell people, your clients are everywhere, but your clients are in 3 lanes of traffic. Don't get caught in the slow lane where you're trying to convince somebody they need you, because they're not a buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you will go broke. And
Yeah.
that's where your peer group is, who are not going to buy your services. They're
Yeah.
the slow lane. They might make you feel good, and there's time and place for that. But I often tell my clients, that's the problem. You're benchmarking your peer group, and your peer groups are not the buyers.
Yeah. And when you're talking about change group or look for the group where your buyers are, when you're talking about room or the
Mhm.
place, it could, what can that look like it's not just going to in-person event, it's what else
100%.
could that be?
It can be anywhere. And this is where it's really simple. It's, where do the conversations happen? I mean, that can be in the lineup at Starbucks. That can be at the library. It can be in your own workspace. It could be in a networking event. But the point is, you have to put yourself out into something other than your 4 walls,
Mm-hmm.
because they are looking privately for support, but they're looking and having conversations with their peers and their friends and their partners and their intimates. And you need to get out of your house. And I don't mean you could do this virtually, but I want you to get out of your 4 walls,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's really hard. We are no longer like we were 5 years ago, when all you had to do was post.
Yeah.
Because posting doesn't bring clients. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Posting might help move a client along, but very, very rarely is it the reason people said yes. And so we've got into this habit where we think the answer is to post and they'll find us, except for we're using the same language with somebody who else is using that language. And chances are they have more money to spend than you. And I tell my clients, I don't believe in ad budgets. I don't believe in spending big amounts of money to build visibility, because it can be done conversation to conversation. But it's really thinking about, where do people congregate? Where do I feel comfortable congregating? And that doesn't mean a crowd of 100. It can be 1-to-1.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to your style preference. But truthfully, your business will be built on strangers. So if you want growth, you're going to have to go make friends with strangers. And I know the hardest thing as an adult all of us face is, I don't know how to make friends with strangers, Christine. And I say, start by simply having a conversation and not being a weirdo. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, don't go vomit your business at somebody. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
start a conversation, find common ground, talk to people and say, what's going on? If you can just be an observer, you will open enormous amounts of doors.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes a big difference for people to be able to, well, there's the KLM, right? Get to know, like, and trust, KLT, right? But get to know is like just having a conversation, getting people to say, hey, I'm Denise, I live in the neighborhood, are you around here? Or just have that conversation, get them to know you, and
100%.
then be yourself, be friendly, right? Like be whatever, and be curious also. I think what I found also is people are often tending to talk about me, right? Like I want to talk about myself, but people love to be listened to. So make other people talk and they will like you a lot better, right?
100%. And that's where it all starts. It's conversation. And I say the most important skill when you're talking about finding the room, or finding a potential buyer, or finding conversations where your buyer might be having conversations, is the simple thing that your number one goal is to spark curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to spark curiosity with people, that is one of the reasons people hire me. Because I said, stop vomiting your business at people. I think we have networking fundamentally wrong. And I said, your goal is to go into that space and there's usually a task. And I set my clients homework, which is I want you to find a new person. I want you to go have a conversation. I don't want you to talk about your business. And I want you to be able to invite somebody to a next step.
Mm.
And then remember, we want to be really careful with our time, because I said, well, you have to meet a lot of people. You want to be having the detailed conversations with the right people.
Yeah.
But we have to learn this skill, and it's a confidence builder. And at first they're like, I don't want to do that. And I have said so many clients that have said to me over the years, I just want to post on social media, or I don't want to post on social media. And I said, no one is going to put a lot of money in your pocket if they never talk to you. They want to know you're human.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care how you do it. You have to choose your lane, but you can't be the best kept secret.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see the engine run consistently, you do absolutely get to choose your lane, because I said, not everybody wants to do big crowds. Not everybody wants to do the same strategies and the tactics. But I said, you must get clear. How do you spark curiosity? And how do you start to own your own story?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't be someone else. It's exhausting. And often that's the problem. I said, the more you are, the more your people will find you.
Mm-hmm.
And that at first feels really uncomfortable. And that's often why people want to work with me, because when they first come to work with me, they say, just tell me what to say. I said, it doesn't start that way.
Yeah.
We need to eventually figure out what to say, who to say it to, and how to say it to create movement. But I'm not going to write words for you. There's no scripting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like peeling an onion. We have to figure out, what do you stand for? Why are you choosing to do this? What makes you awesome? What's the story you don't want to tell? Because that's what will connect you to another human being. And that's what will build the bridges for people to open doors. Because honestly, people are the most awesome things on the planet. They will help you if you're clear. Clarity is the ultimate accelerator, which is why my business is called that. Yeah. That's one of the biggest results people get working with me is, I know what I stand for. I will stand proudly about it. And I know my people are out there and they will invest in my programs and services. And that's when it gets to be really, really fun. And you stop stalling. You actually start to see that really consistent crescendo of growth.
Yeah, I imagine that once it starts working, once they work with you and they start getting results, then it's like, oh my goodness, this works. I got to do more of it. I want to do more of it.
It is. And that's one of the funnest things to observe. It's honestly the best part of what I do as a mentor. But then often what I say to them is, don't take your foot off the gas of the things that got you here. Yeah. Which is very tempting to do. And even when I give great advice, often my clients don't always take it. And then they start to slow down and go, what's happening? I said, remember this crescendo, this engine? You took your foot off the gas. And they're like, oh, I know what to do to go back into lift. And I said, let's time to prioritize it. Let's make it happen. And they learn.
And how do you feel like when you go to different event or the people you encounter and all that, but how can you identify and attract those that are willing to pay or invest into your services?
It's being really clear on what the result is. And this is some of the biggest challenge that I see. We get really caught up, especially if we're stalling and we think the answer is a new program, is we get stuck in what the program should be. Yeah. And we get really stuck in building the program and the features of the program and think that's what will create the movement. Let me give you the spoiler alert. It doesn't. Here's what that might sound like. I have a new program. It includes 3 sessions, 2 of these things, a downloaded course, and a bobcat, a unicorn, and a lollipop. And they think that that was an offer. I say to people, none of what you said was the result. Yeah. That's the only thing people will pay for is the result. Yeah. So in order for you to see success, the first thing you need to get really clear on what is the result they seek. And here's another big hint. It is so much smaller and often not monetary that gets them moving. Yeah. And sometimes we want to put too much into the offer that we lose them because guess what? It sounds like work. They don't want work. They're going to take
they don't want to do 5 module and they don't want to have to jump on the unicorn and they don't want to have to do that. No. They want to be successful in their business and make more money. you know?
Yes, it is simpler. And so I think it's one, you have to get really clear on the result. And the only way to do it is to talk to somebody and
Mm-hmm.
to really make sure that you're walking in step with them. Because here's the most important piece never to lose sight of is you are not the result. You don't guarantee the result. What you do is guide somebody to build the skills, capabilities, and confidence to get the results for themselves. So one of the big things when people are building their offers, I said, do you have confidence you can guide that result? And
Mm-hmm.
why would they value it? And if you're not getting yeses, it's because you're either not clear on the result or you're not able to communicate the value that makes it a priority. And that's not a convincing thing. That's a connection thing.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
must keep fine tuning it. And that's why, it doesn't happen overnight. This is an iterative process. What I mean by that is we do something, we observe. We do something, we observe. We do
Mm-hmm.
something, we observe. Small changes
Tweaking. Yeah.
create the insights as long as you're slowing down to work with a mentor to say, what did you change? What did you observe? What's the magic? If not, you can find yourself on the track and suddenly then off the track and you're like, I'm not sure what happened here.
Yeah.
But my goal always as a mentor is for helping you think decisions quickly that create repeatable success, not just once in a blue moon. I want you to be confident you can have the dreams you wanted and you have confidence you can bet on yourself to get them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I think often what happens is people, they try a new thing and it didn't work. And they say, well, that stuff doesn't work. And then they try something completely different as opposed to just tweaking one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
And everything works for somebody. And that's why it's so disheartening, I think. And that's why a lot of people in the coaching space, I think, have lost, a lot of people losing faith in that guidance. And I say, everything works for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we have to go back to that 80-20 and say, what's the things that will work for you? And it won't work immediately out of the gate, but we don't change the goal line, we change the approach.
Yeah.
And we have to have the patience to actually go live the change, observe it, and adjust. And that's why having somebody else help you with your blind spots, help you execute it, hold your hand, and actually get it done, that you can't underestimate what the acceleration can be when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because we honestly love our comfort zones. And some people will tell you it's a numbers game and that you should just do more. I said, if what you're doing isn't working now, more is not the answer. Because one conversation can be the right conversation with a client that means yes. And I know that because it happens in my business all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a numbers game. There is process, strategy, and actions that we do to create the engine so that we have predictable successes, so that we have more one-to-ones and yeses. That's the way business is elegantly simple. It works.
It's fantastic.
Work it.
Wonderful. So what would be an easy way for people to reach you?
I'd love for you to come connect to me on my website, which is ChristineCampbellRapin.com. That's my name. And you will find on that website my entire ecosystem. Ways to connect to me on social media, ways to come play with me at future events, resources, tools, and yes, details about the programs I offer. It's a simple place to start. It's my name, ChristineCampbellRapin.com. Come connect to me there.
So Christine Campbell Rapin. So add the C is for Campbell. So when you see her name, just type it all thing and .com and you'll find her.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. I mean, so many people could use your services because, as you know, everybody has had a big dip 3.5 years ago, and now everybody's trying to get back up and working and making money and getting back to the new normal. And a lot of people are struggling. So hopefully they'll reach out to you and they will benefit from all your services. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.